This video was made possible by Skillshare. Learn new skills for free for 2 months by being one of the first 1,000 to sign up at the link in the description. Well, seeing as we're only 7 months into 2020, and we've already done the plague thing, the recession thing, the Brexit thing, the murder hornet thing, the assassination of a foreign leader thing, the Australia burning to the ground thing, the police brutality except police brutality has actually been rampant for decades thing, and worst of all, the Trolls World Tour thing, I'd say we're well overdue for an exchange of nuclear warheads thing. Now, if Russia gets fed up with all that tedious election rigging in November and decides to go for a more direct approach, there are a few things you need to keep in mind if you want to survive a nuclear blast. Firstly, depending on where you are and where the missile is being launched from, you'll have anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes to prepare. In the case of Hawaii's missile scare in 2018, officials estimate that Hawaiians would have had about 12 minutes between the accidental push notification warning of Hawaii's fiery demise and Hawaii's actual fiery demise. Now, with that 10 to 45 minutes, the rest is easy. Don't look directly at the explosion, stay inside a reinforced concrete building, ingratiate yourself into the tribe of mutant squirrel people that rule the Fallout-ravaged hellscape, but most importantly, wait, is this video all intro? Did we ever get to a topic or… okay, well, most importantly, the only thing that will guarantee your survival is to simply duck and cover. Okay, just kidding. This isn't an early 1950s PSA meant to stimulate children with ineffectual survival tips in order to stoke the public's fear of global communism. This is half as interesting. Here we only give you real survival tips that we read about on Wikipedia, and we all know that in reality, the only thing that will guarantee your survival is to dig a massive underground city built to house millions of people in the event of a nuclear war. Coincidentally, that's exactly what China did under Beijing in 1969. Now, it's easy to forget that there are parts of world history that don't include the United States, but believe it or not, the Cold War wasn't just an audition for America's next top nuclear warhead target. There were lots of other countries with their own missiles and their own post-war tensions. Even China and the Soviet Union had their differences, some ideological spats, a few border disputes, and a teeny tiny 7-month military conflict where a few hundred troops were killed. Knowing that things can get kind of sticky when you started gunning down Soviet soldiers, Mao got to work digging one of the largest bunker systems ever designed. And by Mao got to work, I really mean 300,000 Beijingers, including maybe possibly a few schoolchildren, got to work digging 33 square miles worth of tunnels by hand while Mao was chilling in his imperial palace. The resulting shelter was equipped not only with living spaces, but with restaurants, schools, medical facilities, factories, grain warehouses, movie theaters, roller skating rinks, and a mushroom cultivation farm. Basically all the amenities I have in my giant YouTube mansion. And yes, that includes the grain warehouses. I like to have a lot of grain on hand, okay? Now, in the event of an impending nuclear strike on Beijing, any resident could pop into one of the 90 entrances strategically placed around the city to access the shelter. Theoretically, Beijing's underground city would be able to house all 6 million inhabitants for about 4 months, at which point they could be safely released into the apocalypse fresh and rejuvenated. Of course, digging an underground city isn't exactly a weekend project, and Sino-Soviet relations were in a much better place when the project was completed 10 years later in 1979. There was no longer any worry of bombs or gas or bombs filled with gas so that when they explode they release gas everywhere, so the completed underground city was, fortunately, never used. Well, at least for its intended purpose. You see, when Mao stepped down in 1976, and by step down I mean died, he was replaced by this guy, Deng Xiaoping. Deng was much less interested in ideology than Mao, and much more focused on expanding China's economy, so like any good capitalist, when he realized that there were tens of thousands of unused living spaces under China's second most populous city, he did what Google did to our browser histories and ordered them to be commercialized. Slowly, Beijing's underground city was transformed into a collection of underground markets, office spaces, hostels, and ultra-affordable housing. In fact, over 1 million people currently live under Beijing in these renovated bomb shelters that are often cramped, windowless, and poorly maintained. They're sort of like college dorm rooms if college dorm rooms were bigger and affordable. This underground society, which some locals refer to as the Rat Tribe, is mostly composed of young Chinese immigrants from other provinces looking to start new lives in the city without worrying too much about housing costs. Most of these rooms can be rented for around 400 won a month. That's the equivalent of $57 US, which, in New York, can get you 1 night in a haunted Airbnb or about 45 minutes in a nice 1-bedroom apartment. Now, although nearly 5% of Beijing's population lives underground, they need to do so in relative secrecy. While most local officials usually turn a blind eye, these dwellings are all technically illegal since the Chinese government forbids anyone from living full-time in the underground city. I mean, after all, what's more dangerous than living in the most elaborate bomb shelter ever built? Now, before the nuclear Armageddon comes, you should be sure to be prepared to make your days waiting out the end times productive. Remember, the end of life as you know it is the perfect opportunity to learn the basics of cinematography, or basic watercolor techniques, or how to make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich. Now, for all of this, you need Skillshare. That's because not only do they have a seemingly endless catalog of classes on anything and everything, but they also have an app where you can download classes offline. Of course, if you're thinking, I don't have enough time to learn new skills, first of all, wrong. Most classes are under 60 minutes and are broken into small segments, and second of all, you could use Skillshare to learn how to create enough time to use Skillshare with a class like the Productivity Masterclass by Thomas Frank, who's a friend of mine, so maybe recommending this class will convince him to buy me a sandwich or something? Best of all, you can try Skillshare Premium and see if it's for you completely for free by being one of the first 1,000 to sign up at the link in the description, and you'll be supporting the channel while you're at it.